Hello, good evening. My name is Fikiri, the Dark Feminina. Welcome. Blessings, kudos for stopping this way. And yes, many blessings to use, and especially haze of blessings, praises, and thank yous to the Almighty UmDali, the Creator. Goddess and God are one, and they deserve our praise, our gratitude, and our blessings. There is a human way of blessing the Creator. And I just want to let you know that Kyalo, Africa, Kyalo being Africa's original name, it's had more than one name, but Kyalo is the original. That when I talk about in my previous videos, in my postings about the original in long Ulelo Uhlelo Pro Forma, there is the original Pro Forma of the world, emanating from Kyalo TuTuSi throughout Africa before coming to the Kingdom of Judah and all the Middle East, and thence to all the world. And the original long Pro Forma sees Kyalo at the helm, at the head, the crown. It has become a missing piece of history, that is so, and essentially has always been so. Kyalo, Egypt, used to be the most prosperous place on earth, the most powerful, the most wealthy, the most respected. The Nile Valley, of course, Kyalo TuTuSi, original name of Masr or Misra or Egypt. Mummy didn't like the name Egypt. Cleopatra, Mummy, who's the queen of Kyalo TuTuSi, Cleopatra the Theophilopatra, squared to Papa, who's Gaius Julius Caesar. Caesar is Tsar, Tsar is king. And when he was unjustly killed, later Mummy married Gaius Marcus Antoninus, and who is by birth, he was the said Duke of Kyalo E, Italia's RA. So he's IA. And their performer through being performer, Gaius Julius Caesar and Mummy are square. The main husband and wife of the Royaume is the square, or the squared-oed husband or the squared-oed wife. Of course, the Royaume, masculina and feminina, have lots of pro forma husbands, wives. That is how they also can be referred to as pharaoh, because of this square and pro forma relationship, respectively, with Mummy. Gaius Julius Caesar, of course, also said king, said Tsar of Italy. Whether it's calling itself republic or whatever a state may end up calling itself or organizing herself politically, kingship remains. Acknowledged or not, kingship endureth. It has to, because it's part of life, part of long Pro Forma. Kyalo TuTuSi heads Africa, heads Kyalo, and Kyalo heads the world. The first kingdom outside of Kyalo is the kingdom of Judah. Then all the other kingdoms of the immediate neighbors to Kyalo Jew, as I explained in my, I think my last video, and then after the Middle East, which ends at Turkey, we come to China, which Asia ends at India, after Australasia, then we come to Europe. And Europe begins with Russia. Russia heads Europe. Russia is Europe's crown. China is Asia's crown before Europe. Judah is the Middle East crown before Asia. And it's necessary, so necessary to learn, relearn, recuerdo well, remember well, kumbuka well, long pro forma, because many people's personal pro forma, because so many wars, disputes, ill feeling can be settled just by understanding long pro forma and honoring it. It's not always difficult resolving disputes and wars. You refer to long pro forma, everybody agrees to honor it. To honor it, people need to understand it well. The questions need answering, and how people feel about each other, especially after disputes and war and bloodshed and court cases, and it needs to be like diplomatically understood well. People giving themselves even a chance to take a breath of fresh air in the light of long pro forma. Kyalo TuTuSi is still Kyalo's head and always will be. What's happened in the previous 4 centuries or so, but it didn't really hit Kyalo until mid to late 19th century. In some areas, even in Kyalo Ko, for a lot of people, unless they were directly confronted historical truth with incoming European peoples, life continued pretty much as normal until the end of the 19th century, and then it got more and more difficult. But Kyalo Ko remains, and survived, and it's still here, and there is much hope for the future, especially if she learns her own long pro forma. There are 18 original kingdoms of Kyalo, of Africa. Just 18. That is Kyalo TuTuSi, which, as I said, is Masr, Misra, Egypt, followed by Kyalo Su, which is Sudan and Sudan and South Sudan together, and followed by Kyalo Wo, which is Ethiopia, Wole being the traditional oldest surname of well, you could say Wo, but Wole is the surname of the Selassie family, of the Sedwal family of Ethiopia, Abyssinia, Ethiopia, followed by Kyalo So, which is Somalia, including Somaliland, traditional Somalia. There is original Somalia, and it includes Somaliland, followed by Kyalo Ku, which is Tanzania, all of Tanzania, including Unguja, including Zanzibar, that is. So that's one, the 5th original kingdom of Kyalo, followed by Kyalo Ki, which is all of Kenya Ote, not just parts of it, but the whole, including the islands, including Lamu, including the islands of Kenya. Then it's actually Kyalo Uga or Uji, Kyalo Uji, which is Uganda, and all of Uganda again, originally, and followed by Kyalo Ru or Ruwa, which is Rwanda. She's an original kingdom, followed by Kyalo Bu or Bura, which is Burundi, which is an original kingdom, followed by Kyalo Ma, which is Malawi, all of Malawi, followed by Kyalo Za, which is Zambia, all of Zambia, followed by a trip down to South Africa, which is Kyalo Ko. The whole of South Africa originally is Kyalo Ko, and Kyalo Ko is followed by Kyalo Mo, which is Mozambique, all of Mozambique, including Cabo Delgado, all of Mozambique, followed by Kyalo, which is Lesotho, all of Lesotho, followed by Kyalo Bo, which is Botswana, all of Botswana, followed by Kyalo Zoo, which is all of Zimbabwe, not only the Shona parts. It's all, or not even just just the Kalanga areas. It's all of Zimbabwe, and followed by Kyalo Na, which is Namibia, all of Namibia. Now, any country of modern day Kyalo, Africa, that have missed out, they all belong to Kyalo Amba. Kyalo Amba. And the head of Kyalo Amba is the Bukongo. The Bukongo, the Congo people, Bukongo. And they are the Aswan, the London of Kyalo Amba. And if you think how many countries that involves, the rest of DRC, as I said in my previous video, original capitals, capital cities are always in the southeast of an original kingdom. And obviously Kinshasa isn't in the southeast of Congo. So she's not like many people, like the Egyptian pharaohs. They moved the capital several times in over thousands of years. Currently, Kinshasa is the capital, where there are many Congo purples, but their original home is a bit further east and then a bit further north, but not that far north. It's just in the southeast of the country. And the other, the north of Kyalo Amba is actually Libya. Libya is part of Kyalo Amba. And so the South people begin just where, for an English person or a British person, it's Oxford. It's the geographical setting of where Oxford is in England is in Congo. Today it's all called Congo, or it's all called Zaire, but it's all part of the same kingdom. It's a unitary kingdom, all the way from Libya to Morocco, back to Chad, over Morocco and north part of Mauritania. Then it's back to Chad, over to far western Africa, past Mali and Senegal. Then it's back again to the Central African Republic in earlier times, even some today. Obviously, it's Ubangi Shari, or just Ubangi, or just Shari, but Ubangi Shari tends to refer to a temporary performer when they had much more power in Kyalo Amba and even beyond. Original, as I'm using it, the original performer, the original long performer. Long performer is tons bigger than a business meeting performer, where it's all been set out. So-and-so is going to chair the meeting, the deputies, and there are people responsible for certain departments, and the order, the procedure for the meeting is such and such and such and such. It's called performer, isn't it? So long performer is like that, only it springs from heaven. And when people fight it, you get what you get when you fight goodness. You get horrible. You get what nobody likes: injustice, poverty, illness, extreme weather, animal attacks, people being ostracized, sent to live in different countries, or denied their rights. It's horrible. And people being unjustly executed. So it's worth looking within your own country. If there's a lot of any of this, prayer, because too many people are fighting pro forma. then it could be other factors too, blasphemy, just general insulting other people's religions. It could be fighting a particular tribe equals dukedom usually in the world. If people are being denied their rights, you get a comeback of unjust executions, unjust court judgments, and juries being swayed by the media rather than what's true and right. And it's or partly because they don't even know, because the media noise is so loud and tends to go in one direction, not always the right direction, and then you get injustice in the courts. There are factors like that. I'm not saying those are the only factors, but factors like that. People using biye, being convinced that if they use a little bit of biye just to hide their personal secrets, it won't have any big impact. And the next minute, it does. Because small uses of evil in evil's head, it's just great. Can get going now with what it really wants to do, which is oppose life. The creator made life, the adversary, the opposite, whatever we're calling the source of all evil, the devil, whatever you want to call it, whatever you used to calling it maybe, but the source of all real evil, it opposes life, it opposes justice, it opposes diplomacy, it opposes goodness, it opposes good manners, it opposes fairness and sensitivity to people's needs and weaknesses. It's just horrible. You just get horrible. Back to what long pro forma is heavens arranging the best for everyone. And original, to come back to my point about original, the original times are not 5,000 years ago or even 9,000 years ago altogether. It's well, depending on which counting calendar we're using, 9,069 or 70, I can't quite is the time of the first two human beings. However we know them, whichever names you know them by, the very first human beings, a man and a woman, or a woman and a man, depending on what and how we're referring to it and at right times, but the first couple, the first two human beings. The behemoth were already here. Yeah, they've been created earlier, and the cattle in the fields, and eventually there was us. Squabbling apex. Yeah, sometimes we are actually in place, the apex of the creator's creation. We're not always as human beings acting like it. Fighting pro forma amongst ourselves, jealousy gets in the way, pride gets in the way, having been told that you're this person, wonderful, and then you find out you're less than, or told that you're nobody, then you find out you're the king's son or daughter, and there's all manner of confusions. And then people get told by those who know enough to cause trouble that because you're so-and-so, you should be so-and-so, you should be ruling this kingdom or this dukedom, and not always necessarily, at least not always altogether. There is kingship. So that's it, original. When I refer to original, originally, I'm not referring to the 18th century AD or even the first year AD. I'm referring to the time of the very first two human beings from whom all humanity has sprung. That's a long time ago, isn't it? So when people honor long pro forma given to us by the creator, and I know lots of people are atheist, and for them, it's experience will tell you. When you try supporting long pro forma and then you see the results, either from people cheering you on because they actually want long pro forma because they understand it better, maybe they understood it better all this time and just didn't tell you, but they're glad that you've done it. The experience is a great teacher. So you try supporting long performer, having found out what it supposedly is. Yeah, you find out the truth, the real long performer of your country or of other countries you may be interested in, and you see what happens when you consistently over the years support long performer, as opposed to when you fight long performer and then various destructions happen. And then so even if one is atheist, even if you are atheist, it's worth trying it, supporting long performer. Spend this winter spring supporting long performer and having a truthful look at what happens when you do. And for sure, trouble can come if you do support long performer, the same as if you speak up for anything, anyone faithfully. Somebody somewhere's got wrong ideas in their heads and they'll criticize and hate you for it, and they'll move against you for it. I'm aware of that. The Bible does say that the Lord Jesus Christ did say to count the cost of following him, because it won't be an easy, smooth path. But at least he was talking to the apostles. It's not going to be an easy, smooth path with no worries or cares. And they suffered terribly. It is true. You can suffer for doing the right thing. It's just if you do fighting performer, do the wrong thing, you lawless killing, lawless cruelties, they're just unjust to people, then that increases the spread of that. If your aim is to help the poor, is to help the marginalized, whether they're wealthy, middling, or poor, or extremely poor, if your aim is to help people and animal kind, bless them, and the environment, then you can't be indulging in biye, which means you can't be fighting long performer. And we can see the results all around us of people deciding it just doesn't matter, because extreme weather's all over the place. Because it's not just those in government. We all need, and I put on the world, holy hats on, holy thought hats on, reasonable hats on, because we are all responsible for our own personal part in doing our best, in not following the crowd in wrongdoing, as the Bible says, in upholding goodness, in upholding ubulunga, rightness, goodness, law. Ubulunga actually refers to, it means the law of the long and all the goodness and important things that come from it, like how we interact with each other, how we choose to treat each other. We have to be careful with this. I'm so angry, I'll just be rude to you, because so often the other person's no guiltier than you are. If they've been busy indulging in insulting you and trying to destroy you for like weeks and years and decades, then there's something to be said of just the short, sharp words, or a court case, or fighting for one's rights legitimately. But sometimes, usually, politeness is better. Being considerate of other people, even in a time of war, being like King David, being like King Arthur, with a concern for everyone, whether highborn or lowborn. King Arthur was very strong about that. Pharaoh Timoshu III was of the 18th generation or dynasty. He was very concerned with just that. Good rule involves caring for everyone. I just wanted to encourage people to learn long performer. It goes together hand in hand with the law of the land. It also means having some regard for other people's religious sensitivities. If what they're calling religion isn't, if there's usually there's a component of what they're believing or following that isn't right, rather than the whole thing. So that's what needs careful addressing. At least it's worth a divinare as to how best to address a subject, a person, or a group of people, or a nation, or a group of nations. It's very hard to get the balance right. I'm not sure I'm getting it all right in this video, but I'm trying, because I know how important it is, and I know what it feels like to have lots of people decide that it doesn't matter how they treat you. Call Netr, call the angels, call the saints when that happens, call holy beings, local beings. Every building has a holy being, has an angel, has an archangel, has a Netr, a god that is of different lands of the world, and it has a saint, at least one of each. So it always has one of each, and then others may come. But call for holy help. Don't do biye because you're threatened or because you're afraid. That's one of the source of all evil's tricks, to keep people spreading evil, because it gets people believing that what they're doing is